Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 214. I wake up every morning and ask myself, how can I do better today than I did yesterday? Jill Tarter.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's episode is brought to you by Blackbox. Blackbox is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Blackbox, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content, and you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Blackbox currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Blackbox is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Blackbox, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Blackbox takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. So as I'm getting ready for my Sundance trip, this is going to be my 6th trip to Sundance. I wanted to put together a survival guide for any of you guys who are planning to make the trek out to Sundance. So I teamed up with my buddy Adam Bowman from Media Circus, who's been there 17 times, and we kind of put together this top 10 tips on how to make your Sundance experience a little bit more enjoyable, because we've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and there's some inside tips that if you're going to Sundance, you really should know, and it covers all sorts of things. So without any further ado, enjoy our top 10 tips for surviving Sundance.
Welcome to the Sundance Survival Guide with your host, Alex Ferrari, Adam Bowman. We want to give you 10 tips on how to survive Sundance.
Yes.
So the first one,
Yes.
very simple,
Very.
personal health and comfort,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Hand sanitizer.
Much of it.
You're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to be shaking a lot of hands.
A lot.
And you don't want to spread the germs around. But don't do it necessarily in front of people. You don't want to put them off or seem
You don't
odd.
want to look
So
like a germaphobe.
Purell in private.
Yes.
Vitamins and supplements. So you had a regime last year.
Yeah, so last year, I've gone to Sundance. It's going to probably be my 6th or 7th time. I lost count. And every time I've gone, except for last year, I get sick. I bring something back or I catch something while I'm there, which makes the Sundance experience less than optimal. So what I did last year is I got, you stick with your multis, obviously.
Right.
But I got a general broad spectrum immune boosting
Nice.
supplement that has echinacea, all this kind of other stuff, and probiotics. I took
Sure.
probiotics all the time. The other little secret I took was chlorophyll, and not to be confused
Not
with.
chloroform.
We're not Bill Cosbying anybody.
No.
But chlorophyll, which is to help to oxygenate your blood with the altitude, which we'll talk about in another tip later. But those are the supplements that I took and kind of helped me good. And again, the plural and not putting hands in your mouth, doing a lot of hand sanitizer.
Just give your body a chance.
It's tough because with all of the, extreme, especially if you're coming from a place that's not like LA, which is you're not used to this kind of extreme weather, meaning cold weather period,
Right.
and snow and altitude.
Yeah, and you're
all
going from
this-
cold into a hot environment, back out to a cold
Cold.
environment. You wear your immune system down really quick.
Right. So do everything you can. So that's very, very important.
All right, tip 2 for surviving Sundance is layers.
Lots of them.
You're in the snow,
Mhm.
you're in the mountains, it's high altitude, and the last thing LA wear and attire is just not going to cut it. Everybody in New York who's coming to the festival is probably going to be okay because they're really used to cold temperatures right now. But
Yes.
but yeah, layers are a key. The other thing is waterproof boots.
Well, before we even finish layers, have you, and tell me you've seen this, women,
Oh yeah,
actresses coming in from LA with mini skirts.
I'm going to say actresses.
Okay, very loose term with
But
that.
sure.
And I just see them walking on Main Street with like mini skirts.
Yeah,
And not even stockings.
No.
Just like, and high heels.
they showed up to a party in LA.
Right. They showed up to a party in LA and they have a little jacket on and you just see them like
Yeah,
freezing their butts off. So don't do that. You're going into battle.
that's right.
It's
an excursion.
It's an excursion. You're going out to Mount Everest. You got to really prepare yourself because it is not also a short thing.
No.
You're going to be doing this for 2 or 3 days.
You're going to stand in lines outside.
Yes.
It's just
And depending on this on the year you go, it could be like this year we're looking at 20 to 30 degrees. But I've been there at years where it's 5
Right.
and 10 and freezing.
You will get snowed on. You might get dumped on.
Like last year was a dump.
Yeah.
Last year was like a foot and a half every night.
Right.
Was dumping on us. But the other tip you were saying is waterproof shoes.
Yes, absolutely. Because right now it's calling for snow that first weekend,
Mhm.
and all the slush and all the roads are just going to be super wet. And the last thing you want to do is walk through town, get your feet wet, because your feet will be cold and wet all day.
Yes, and I made the mistake on my first couple actually because I was an idiot. Sundances where I used just regular socks and not having water. I took sneakers and like dress shoes for a party.
Yeah.
And I would walk out and wait in line to get into a party or wait until line to get in a movie, and my foot was frozen, literally frozen solid from the moment.
Yep.
Within 15 minutes, and you're just dying out there. So make sure they're waterproof. And another big tip as well as last year, I was just telling these guys, last year I bought insane boots that nothing could get in.
Right.
But they also weighed 5 pounds each.
Yeah.
So there was that. And when you're walking around, I was exhausted all day. My feet were killing me, but I was dry. So you have to find the balance as well.
That's right.
And then the other tip was the socks.
Socks, nice big heavy
Thermal
warm socks.
Socks.
Wool insulates even if it's wet.
Yes. So wool, thermal, get thick socks, not like 2 or 3 of your regular socks. That's not going to work.
No.
Get thermal socks. And arguably, if it gets cold enough, I don't think it would be that this year, but like thermals underneath are sometimes necessary.
Sometimes are. Although keep in mind that if you're wearing thermals and then you go to a party,
You're done.
yeah, it's too much.
It's too much. So depending on what you're going to do, if you're going to be out all night,
Right.
then yes, wear thermals.
Right.
Mittens?
Mittens. Gloves are not a bad idea.
Yes.
You don't necessarily need the big, thick, ski gloves, but something to keep your hands warm while you're trotting around town, carrying your coffee, making phone calls.
And if you have something that can pull the fingers off.
Oh, yeah. Fingers are key.
For your phone or for just being able to touch something.
Yeah.
That's really good. My gloves has something that you can actually stick like my iPhone or chapstick or something like that inside that.
Hand warmers.
The hand warmers. I discovered them like trip 3. And they're the best things, the best investment you can make, where there's these little packets, you crack them and it creates heat for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
You put them in your hands, you put them in your feet.
Yep.
Put them wherever you
Put them in your
want.
pockets.
Put them wherever you want
Yeah.
to be warm.
Keep your giblets warm.
Keeps your giblets warm, whatever you want. It is well worth the minuscule amount. And get them get them on Amazon, get them a case. I got a case.
Oh, yeah.
Just bring them with you.
REI, yeah. And definitely Amazon's a good place for it.
Yep.
All right, tip 3 is there's a lot of stuff going on, but make sure you try to see movies.
It is a film festival after
It's
all.
a film festival.
That you watch movies there.
And there's great panels.
So that's the other big thing that a lot of filmmakers don't take advantage of is the panels, the workshops, the seminars that go on.
The expertise that are around there and giving away free information.
is remarkable.
Huge.
And don't forget,
Huge.
I've actually met a lot of producers and people in the industry by walking up after the panel
Yep.
and going, hey, I really loved your panel, and just accessing them. And you would never get access to like a producer of a big television show or a big movie
Nope.
any other way. And if they're hanging around talking, that means they're open to it. And I've gotten meetings from that. And I meet with them later and we make relationships and things happen. It's really, really valuable. And also don't forget, there's only not just one film festival going on.
That's
There is
right.
2 world-class film festivals going on
Right at the
Sundance.
top of Main Street, there's this festival you might have heard of called Slam Dance.
Yes.
So, if you're having a hard time getting tickets to Sundance, go up and check out Slam Dance. Some great movies there.
Mhm.
If you have a pass for Sundance, you're probably set. But otherwise, you need to learn the app. The app
Yes.
is it's never been easier to waitlist a movie, but you have to stay on top of it and make sure that you're ready right when that opening happens to waitlist movies that are coming up.
Yeah, the old days you have to just literally sit in line
Yeah.
for 3 hours in the snow waiting to go see.
Yeah. And now you can sort of see instantly whether it's worth your time to go and check out the line for the movie.
Yep.
All right. Tip 4
Mhm.
is parties. How do you get into a party?
You either break in, jump fences.
Yes, you can do that.
And then you'll get arrested. But there's a lot of different ways.
Might be worth it.
It might be worth it actually, and we'll say how we did it before. But there's other ways you can do it. One, if you have a little bit of a scratch, hire a publicist.
Yes.
If you could hire a publicist, pay them a couple grand, $1,500, $2,000, they might be able to get you on lists to get into any of these parties and or gifting suites and things like that in areas that you will not be able to get access to. So it might be a good investment to hire a publicist. Other ways of getting into parties is while you're there and meeting other people,
Right.
And you will meet people. You could just go, hey, what parties are you going to tonight? Hey, I'm going to this party. Oh, great, I'm going to this party. And you start hearing about where these parties are.
Yeah, the party network.
There is a party network, and you'd be surprised that people that you meet there, you might meet somebody on the side of the road that's a big, high-powered producer, director, or manager, or agent, or something like that, and they just know you as the dude that they partied with at Sundance. And then later on, you find out that they're this, big, powerful person in Hollywood. It's happened many times.
Now, the other thing to think about when you're at a party, though, is that you are at altitude.
Yes.
So you're going to have the tolerance of an 18-year-old with a fake ID.
Yes,
okay?
you will.
You just cannot sit there and drink the same amount that you would at any other time. You need to moderate your drinking, especially if you want to try to get through the next day. Which the other part is, don't go big on your first night. You're tempted. It's the energy of Sundance. You're going to want to go big on the first night.
Yeah.
It's a mistake because you're going to want to do the same thing the next night, and then the same thing the next night,
Now,
and then the same thing the next night.
And if you're 18, you might get away with a day or two.
You might
get away with a day or two. But generally speaking, it's going to just beat you down.
Yes, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Sundance is a physical endurance challenge.
Yes.
It's not just about chilling out and having a good time and partying. If you're going to do it for real, it's a lot. If you're going to do even 3 days, even if you're staying 3 days, it is a marathon because after that first night, I remember waking up at 2:00 in the afternoon and half your day is gone because you partied so hard.
And you missed that 8:00 screening.
And you missed that 8:00 screening of the next big movie.
Right.
So just pace yourself because it will hurt you.
Absolutely. Tip number 5. Don't drive at Sundance.
Please don't drive at Sundance.
You can drive to Sundance, but then don't touch your car.
Okay,
don't drive again.
So if you're going to drive a car, first of all, do not drive a car in Sundance. Now, if you're going to drive to Sundance, that means you have a private parking space,
yes,
a garage where you can park that car and never touch it again while you're at Sundance.
Ever.
Because if you're going to try to drive around Sundance, you will not find parking and you will make it hell for everybody else there.
Correct.
So don't do it. Use Uber. And warnings on using Uber. There is no Lyft. Last year I couldn't even find a Lyft. So it's only Uber. And Uber will price gouge you.
Yeah.
Like the surges are ridiculous. Talking about like I had to drive a block to carry a whole bunch of gear from one place to another. It cost me $40. I wanted to shoot somebody.
Also, Uber drivers, a bunch of them come into Sundance just for the festival, and not everybody brings a four-wheel drive, winter-equipped vehicle.
Yes.
So when that Prius shows up to pick you up, to take you to some party up in the hills, recognize that probably halfway there, the Prius is not going to make it, and you're going to have to walk half the way.
Correct. So be very well aware of that. Now, as far as getting around Sundance, there's an amazing public transportation. The trolley. They have this little trolley that takes you in the bus. It's a bus or trolley?
The buses. Well, there's a trolley that goes up and down Main Street.
Right.
But then there's buses that go through all of Park City. They take you to all the Sundance venues.
Yes.
And it's free. And there's a bus every 5 minutes.
Right. It's an amazing system, and they've got it down to a science. So once you get to Sundance, as long as you can get down towards an area where there's a bus stop, you're good. You're golden, and you can walk around and travel around the whole festival pretty much for free.
All right, tip number 6, giveaways. All at Sundance, there's tons of swag.
Super amounts of swag. Everywhere you turn, they're giving you a beanie,
a water bottle,
a scarf, a T-shirt. It's so much swag.
And every magazine, every filmmaking magazine you could ever want
is there.
Yeah.
Now, with all of this wonderful free stuff, you have to think about it in the long term, meaning that if you start grabbing everything they give you, you got to carry this all day, because generally when you're in Main Street or at Sundance, you're not going to go off to the hotel room unless you're on Main Street, which you're lucky if you are. So you're going to be carrying this all day. So just be aware of that. And with the altitude and with the climbing and all this kind of stuff, it's going to kill you. So don't grab everything. And look, magazines are great, but they're not like it's a magazine, guys. It's an issue of American cinematography.
Variety comes out all the time.
If you want to grab it, if it's really important to you, grab it, but don't grab everything that comes along.
No.
Because it's going to get a little bit heavy for you.
All right, tip number 7, meeting people. At Sundance, there's a lot of celebrities there.
Yeah, and take it from someone who came from the West Coast or the East Coast, from somewhere that's not Hollywood. When I first got to Sundance, I was starstruck like nobody's business. There's stars walking the streets everywhere. There's directors, the celebrity directors that you would know if you're a filmmaker walking around. So there is some protocol on how you approach people on the street. Generally speaking, if you see a celebrity on the street, be cool. You know, if you're a fan, come up like,
It
hey,
seems obvious.
but you gotta be cool about it. Like, hey, can I get a picture or something like that? If they're on the street, they're generally going to know that this is what's going to happen, because a lot of celebrities, they'll just come in a black SUV, jump into whatever thing they have to do, and then jump back out and don't talk to the riffraff.
Right.
But there are other celebrities, if they're walking the
And
streets,
we are the riffraff.
we're absolutely the riffraff. But if they're there, they're generally there to meet be seen and walk around. But just be cool, and if they don't want to, just be cool about it. Same thing with producers or directors or
other
studio
filmmakers.
heads,
Yeah.
other filmmakers. Now, with that said, please, if you meet a big producer, if Jerry Bruckheimer's walking down the street, or Tarantino or Lawrence Bender or one of these guys walks down the street, do not pitch them your movie. Do not walk up to them and go,
No.
hey, I've got this movie. It's going to be great. Don't do that.
No.
What would be your suggestions on how you would approach those people?
Again, approach them as a fan. Say, look, I love your work. I appreciate everything you've done. Simple things like that. Let them know that you know who you are and you respect their work. But they're not there to hear you talk about yourself. That's not why they're there.
No, absolutely not. So just be aware of that when you're going to approach someone of that caliber walking around Sundance. Now, networking. How do you network? How do you not network? At these parties, at these events, at these workshops, and so on.
Well, first, again, you don't want to lead with, this is my movie that I want to make, or I made a movie. You want to start with, obviously introducing yourself as your name, what you do, and trying to find some other common interest to talk about. The other thing is business cards, right?
Yes.
Have a business card prepared. Have it look good. When you're exchanging business cards, have a system.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to collect so many business cards. And,
Right.
and when you're wearing your winter stuff, there's like 15 pockets, and it's very easy to lose them. Collecting the business cards is great, but you also need to follow up with them. So you need to know where the business card is. Connect with them while you're at Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
And then the most important thing is connect with them after Sundance.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 days after the festival's over.
It's much like dating.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to give them a minute to decompress, because we all
Says
have
two
to
guys have been married for a long time.
This is true. But you have to give them time to decompress. Don't call them the day after Sundance. Like, they're not going to give them a week, give them 3, 4, 5 days, and then reach out to them again. But that's the best. And you're going to get so many business cards, you will lose them. So just make sure you hand them out and just be cool. That's the biggest advice we could give you.
Be cool.
Be cool,
Yeah.
man.
Tip 8.
If you can, stay as close as possible to Main Street in Park City.
And there's a lot of places near Main Street. On
There
Main
are.
Street, there's a handful of hotels, which are probably all booked.
Yep.
But there are multiple houses, Airbnbs going up up. Like if Main Street's right here, there are houses that go up
Right.
on the side. And if you can get into any of that area, that's just a walk. A block
Absolutely.
walk.
Within a mile of Main Street, you're solid. Anything outside of that, you're running into issues of trying to get to Main Street, which goes back to one of our previous tips: don't drive, and so that creates problems in its own right.
Yeah, if you think you're going to get a cool Airbnb, I'm like, oh, I'm only 15, 20 minutes out of Sundance. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You're done. It's not a good thing to do. Another big tip, though, if you're going to go to Sundance go with Sundance. Go with a group of people.
Yeah.
The more people you can get, you can rent out a bigger place, drop the cost down dramatically. And basically, every time I've ever gone to Sundance, it's a hostel. Like, I've never had my own private room at Sundance. It doesn't happen. Even huge monster, people in the business who
Right.
make millions of dollars a year are sleeping on the floor,
Right.
or on a couch somewhere, because there's just no space, too.
Right.
And that's just the way it is.
That's right. 70,000 plus people inundate that city for that 10 days,
It's
not built for that.
It's not built for even a
No.
small percentage of that. So definitely don't stay too far out of Park City if you're gonna, or of Main Street if you can help it.
Tip number 9 for surviving Sundance: recognize you will be at altitude. What's the altitude of LA?
0.
Yeah,
It's 0.
you're going to be at 7,000 feet.
And trust me, from someone who came from even actually lower than 0, I came from Miami,
Yeah.
which is literally under the water. And I got to Sundance, man, and it's the worst feeling in the world, because you walk 5 feet and you're like, you can't grab your breath. It is brutal for someone who's not ready for it, or let alone doesn't understand that it's going to happen to you. You feel like you're going to die.
And
It's horrible.
Main Street is on an incline.
Oh, and it's
You're
not
just
like
hiking
a slight
it. Yeah,
incline.
no. It's a hill. It's a mountain. You're climbing up a mountain.
So if you got to go to Slam Dance from the bottom of the hill, you're walking up probably 3, 4, 5 blocks up.
Yeah, it's about half to 3/4 of a mile from bottom to top.
Right. And you're going to walk it and you're going to die.
A couple times a day, probably.
Probably. So you're going to die. That's why a lot of people wait for the for
Yeah.
the bus at the top or the trolley.
Trolleys.
And the trolley will
buses.
take you down or the
Yep.
bus because they take you around as well. But just be prepared for altitude and understand that you're going to have to deal with it. So like I said in a prior tip, chlorophyll to oxygenate your blood will be good. Any other supplements that you can buy to oxygenate your blood will help you acclimate to it better.
Hydrate.
And hydrate lots and lots of water.
Oh, wait. What other kind of... there's a stick or some sort of stick?
I don't know about that.
Chapstick?
Yes, chapstick. Sorry. Chapstick is so freaking important. I cannot express to you how important chapstick, some sort of Vaseline.
Yeah. It's cold.
Aquifer.
It's dry. It's high.
I'm telling you, if you do not have chapstick, you will die because you will chap your lips. And there's nothing worse than losing your breath, exhausted, wet feet, trying to climb up the hill to get a chapstick, which is only maybe one place in all of Park City that carries it.
On Main Street, yeah, I think that just that Main Street deli there right in the middle. I think that's the only place that
and
sells.
they sell it for $75.
Right.
So just bring a handful of chapstick with you, and I think that would be really beneficial to you.
Tip number 10. If you are willing, if you're able, if you have the know-how, get out and ski.
Yes, I've never partaken myself.
Fool.
I'm a fool, but I am also a Florida boy, so there's that. And if you don't ski, you could also...
Snowboard?
I know it's sacrilege, but I'm sorry. But you can.
You can. It's true. It's possible.
You can. It's possible.
But the slopes are empty.
Yes.
January typically has some of the best snow of the year, and nobody's on the mountain. It's also a great way, it can feel really oppressive with all the people in Sundance. It's a great way to get out, clear your head, and sort of regroup before the next nighttime activities that are going to take 10 years off your life.
Yes. I'm actually 25.
Yeah.
And those are our tips, guys. I hope that helps you out a little bit if you're a newbie to Sundance. Even if you're a veteran, sometimes you find these little tips.
Absolutely.
help.
It's always a learning process.
It took me a few years to pick up a lot of these things. So, and Adam's been how many times?
This will be my 17th year.
He is a veteran. I've been there about 6 to 7. So I've been there a few times as well. But between both of us, we've probably done everything that can be done at Sundance, physically at least.
Yes. And learn from our mistakes.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. And have a good time.
Absolutely.
It's an enjoyable experience. It's a very magical experience that there is honestly no other place on earth and no other festival on earth that has this kind of experience to it. Not Cannes, not Toronto. They all have their unique
Totally.
vibes. But Sundance is a very unique experience. So enjoy it. And it does go fast. So enjoy it while you're there, guys. Have
Although
a
it
good
doesn't
time.
feel like it goes fast.
No, while you're there, no. But
Oh,
it
man.
does.
But it does. It does.
It does fly right by.
Yeah.
So enjoy yourself, guys. And stay safe and don't drive.
Don't drive. And check us out. We're going to have a web series going on, interviewing great guests, talking about the festival and their films.
Yep.
And also, don't forget to #Crash Sundance.
Absolutely. Talk to you guys soon.
I'm telling you, some of those tips are gold. I've been sick so many times going to Sundance because of the weather and the change. And now with this season, specifically with all this flu going around, definitely take heed to a lot of our suggestion, guys. So I hope you guys will be out there. If you are out there, please reach out. We're gonna be doing some party. We're gonna be at the Slam Dance at the top of the hill on Saturday between 2:30 and 4:30. I'm doing a lecture on Blackmagic cameras, Blackmagic workflow that I did on the Hulu show Dimension 404, as well as the space program, and a little bit on This Is Meg as well. So definitely come out. It's going to be a couple hours, and then there's going to be a happy hour right after that between 5 and 7 up at Slam Dance. I'll put the information in the show notes, which are at indiefilmhustle.com/214. And we will be recording lots of interviews and doing a lot of cool stuff. So definitely keep an eye out on the #Crash Sundance, which is going to be our hashtag throughout the festival. And also, of course, keep track of Indie Film Hustle's social media accounts, Twitter and Facebook specifically. And you'll be able to see all of the live interviews that we're going to be doing, cool behind the scenes, and some other little surprises that we have in store for you guys. So, as always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.